Hey guys, Manny back here with another video on the CascadeScents fragrance station, and this one is on my top 10 best spring fragrances. Now if you didn't already know, or if you are new to this channel, just know that spring is actually my favorite season in the entire year, so this is also my favorite season for wearing fragrances. I think living in Southern Ontario, Canada, I just naturally developed this sense of spring fever. I just want to see less snow on the ground at this time of the year. I want to see more things in bloom, more greener grass, more leaves on the trees, that sort of thing. As a result, my fragrances on this list are very indicative of that kind of growth, and overall the kind of thoughts that are evoked in my mind when I do put some of these scents on are really positive, just anything feel good, I guess. And that's why I'm so excited for the spring and so excited to give you guys this list, so we might as well stop wasting any time and we'll get to my number 10. And this year is Un Jardin sur le Nil by Hermes. Now if I had to pick an all-star from the Un Jardin line by Hermes, it's definitely this one. Really love the slightly green, slightly earthy, yet mostly fruity scent about it. The green mango and the citrus is here, very juicy, very lush, and when you spray this stuff, you definitely feel like you're being transported somewhere. Like it definitely takes me to a garden on the Nile, which this stuff translates to. Really love the storytelling here, but if I had a major complaint with this scent, it is really evident it does not last for too long. Also, its projection kind of sucks, so that's also a no-no for me sometimes because I really love this scent and I want other people to be able to smell it too. So because I don't have a little bit more longevity and a tiny bit more projection, that's why it is so lowly ranked on this list. But you guys can't fault it that much. It's like a type of scent where you don't want it to scream anyway. Just try to reserve it for the more brighter and hotter days this spring or summer. So yeah, that's my number 10, Un Jardin sur le Nil by Hermes. Now let's move on to my number 9. It's a classic and my favorite designer level fragrance of all time, Gucci Pour Homme d'Oeuvre by Gucci. Gucci Pour Homme d'Oeuvre for the most part is characterized by some of that myrrh, some of the spices, but for the most part that really calming tea. I think tea is just a brilliant note in fragrances, and I love drinking tea myself, so I guess that's why I like it in a lot of fragrances. And on the designer level, it just really doesn't get much better than this. It's also definitely a fragrance I'd recommend for the one cologne / one fragrance type of guy. It's not too popular of a fragrance, but it is unique enough yet safe enough to be relevant for any day use. Any day, any occasion, throughout any part of the year. But if I have to pick a time of the year where it's actually the most reminiscent of, then I'd have to say it's spring. But that's the thing, I too rock it throughout the year for like milder winter days, as well as summer days, and as well as fall days. And because I rock it so much outside of spring, that's why I'm not as excited to wear it this spring, hence I can't put it higher on this list. That's why it's my number 9, Gucci Pour Homme d'Oeuvre by Gucci. Now let's move on to my number 8. It's a tie between a pair of green vetiver scents. One of them being Citiver by Dueto Parfums, and the other one being Greylocke by Phlur. Let's start off with Citiver first. It is definitely the bigger scent of the two. Bigger citrus opening, bigger greener scent cloud overall, bigger vetiver and woodsy notes at the base. Overall, it's a very safe, big green scent, and I love rocking it for the outdoors if I want to furthermore feel like I'm in tune with nature. So whether it's going for a walk on the street or going for a hike or something like that, I'll definitely rock this. But scent cloud is too big for like an office setting though, and that's why I have this scent here too. Greylocke is the more subdued green vetiver scent. I also appreciate how piney it is too, because I think its pinier nature is actually a little bit more natural smelling than Citiver. And I can't think of any other green vetiver scents that also have this sea salty note, which I think is really unique here. It definitely adds a nautical freshness to its scent cloud and sillage, and believe it or not, I think that's why I get a lot of compliments with it. Overall, it's very beautiful stuff here that I'd say is on par with this. But again, they're kind of for different uses, at least for me. So there we go, equally great green vetiver scents, Citiver by Dueto Parfums and Greylocke's Phlur at number 8. Moving on to my number 7, here is Nightingale by Zoologist Perfumes. Now Nightingale is one of the prettiest fragrances on this list, without a doubt. I've never smelled a fragrance that makes use of plum blossom the way this stuff does. Definitely the all-star of the show in this fragrance. Also has a beautiful rosiness to it in the heart, as well as some more other traditional fragrance florals, and I think it blends well with the ambergris, the sandalwood, and the oud in the base. For the most part, it's a floral and woody fragrance, and typically that kind of genre would come off as medicinal off of my skin, believe it or not, at least to my nose. Now I don't appreciate that whatsoever, but with this, it doesn't come off that way. Like there's still a lot going on here, but it doesn't come off as medicinal. It just comes off as equal parts floral and woody, and it's just so pretty. But yeah, there's not a lot to complain about with this scent. But for me, I'd say it's still the most formal out of the scents here because I don't think I can rock this casually whatsoever. So that's why it's only ranked as number 7, but again, still really amazing stuff. Nightingale by Zoologist Perfumes. Now let's move on to my number 6. Here it is in Guerlain Homme Le Bois by Guerlain. Now this stuff is another vetiver scent, but definitely not like a 4C vetiver like the aforementioned two. Still very clean vetiver, still very woody. Its name even translates to woody water. So it's equal parts those woods and that amplified vetiver with the mojito note, which is what the Guerlain Homme line is known for. So yeah, very minty, very limey, really love it here. Overall, makes for a very sophisticated, very versatile vetiver. Any location, any occasion, any season, I just think it's that awesome of a scent. Definitely lean spring, that's why it is on this list though. And it's also as high as number 6 because I really love its value here too. I think anyone can get a lot of uses out of this stuff. So again, numero 6, Guerlain Homme Le Bois by Guerlain. Now moving on to my number 5, here is Barfly by Scotch and Soda. Now if you haven't been to a Scotch and Soda store, I swear they kind of just inject the room with this Barfly stuff, whether it's in the women's or the men's section. Now I can kind of do without how cologne-y it is, but for the most part it blends into the herbs really well in the heart. My nose doesn't find that combination too sharp whatsoever, so thumbs up for that. But for the most part, why this scent is so great is because that base is so good. Definitely one of the best designer level sandalwoods on the market, and it's just blended well with the musk and the vanilla. Like when people go in to hug you, don't be surprised if they are asking what the stuff is because it's just that comforting of a scent. My only regret with this is that I didn't discover it sooner because I wish this would have been my college signature scent. So college boys and girls, if you are looking for something that is youthful yet sophisticated, something that's unique yet familiar, definitely try this out. It's Barfly by Scotch and Soda. Now changing gears, we're going to move on from something youthful and modern to something a little old school. Here's a pair of Chanel Les Exclusifs, 31 Rue Cambon and Bois des Iles. Now let's start off with Rue Cambon. For the most part, this stuff is trying to mimic the OG Chypre type of formula, but without oak moss. So in comes the patchouli here, and I'd say it's really good in the base, really woody, really damp and earthy too. But what makes the scent here is that beautiful bergamot in the opening, really sharp, and it leads into the iris, which is really posh and just really big. Like this is actually a Chanel scent that actually performs off of me, which I really appreciate. And the iris here is not as makeup-y as a Dior Homme if that's something you are not a fan of, but you do like iris, definitely check this out. Like the iris here is really street chic and posh and the type of iris I want to walk around with when I'm in a metropolitan city or something like that. But sometimes I don't want to be that stuffy or that pungent with this type of Chypre formula, so sometimes I'll rock this right here in Bois des Iles. Now Bois des Iles is that aldehydic goodness that you'd expect out of OG 1920 Chanel, but you have that sandalwood here too. Very smooth, and I love how it blends perfectly with the Chanel florals. I'd also say it's the cozier scent of the two, which I think is really cool because not only will I walk the streets with this, but I can definitely chill in my house with this too. So yeah, in that sense, I guess this is a little bit more versatile. That being said, this and this are both really awesome street chic, metropolitan posh type of scents. I think I love them equally for city use during the spring. That's why they're on this list at number 4. So that's 31 Rue Cambon and Bois des Iles by Chanel. Now let's move on to my number 3. Here's Lyric Man by Amouage. Now Lyric Man is without a doubt the best rose fragrance I've ever smelled. For the most part, very fresh rose water here, and you have some lime in the opening too, and it's just like a rose that took a shower, if that makes any sense. Very fresh and juicy at first, but it gets more powdery as it goes on, which I also appreciate. Then you get more hints of that Amouage trademark incense and the musk too, which I think is just a natural, nice combination. And I'd say it also doesn't come off as too girly in comparison to like Nightingale on this list or some other floral scents. So it might be super feminine off of card, but spray this on yourself, tell me what you think, because I do think that it is not as feminine as everyone says it is. So for all those reasons and more, that's why my favorite rose scent is on this list. Lyric Man by Amouage. Man, that's good. Alright guys, we're almost there to that number 1 spot, but here is my number 2. It's Bal d'Afrique by Byredo. So it's definitely a different kind of floral scent here, definitely a different kind of vetiver scent. The vetiver here is super clean, but for the most part, the florals are what's taking center stage. African Marigold, haven't seen it this pretty in any fragrance, and just love it right here. Like, this is without a doubt one of my most happiest scents in the collection. Like, I smell this and I just can't help but smile. And whether I spray this on myself or if a partner is wearing this, like, I'd feel equally happy whenever I smell it off of myself or someone else. It does lean feminine, however, if that's something you care about, but whenever I wear it, it's not like someone thinks it's girly or anything off of me. Just a pretty sweet floral that has some versatility, and I did wish it performed a little better, but I'm not going to complain too much because I don't want this to come off as too stuffy. For me, I'd say the scent is just right. Yeah, so good. Again, my number 2, Bal d'Afrique by Byredo. And finally, we've arrived at the number 1 spot. This one is super easy for me this spring, like no questions about it. It's going to be the scent I'm going to rock the most during the spring. Whatever occasion it is, like it's always going to be a candidate. And this fragrance is Silver Mountain Water by Creed. Like this stuff is actually reminiscent of a cold river stream through the mountains, and that's why I love it. Like that very thought is so refreshing, and whenever I spray it onto my skin, I definitely get that. It's definitely a little inky at first with how the blackcurrant comes off, but give it a few minutes and for the most part it's going to be tea and watery goodness throughout the rest of its life. It gets a little muskier towards the base too, which doesn't hurt in my opinion. And at the end of the day, overall, it just becomes one of the most versatile and most compliment-getting scents in my collection. That being said, if this stuff does have a flaw, for me, it's its evaluation. It just totally sucks. But if discounters didn't exist and I had to pick up a Creed for that price, it's definitely this one. And again, it's because it's one of the most flattering scents that I can use for just about anything, and it makes me feel so refreshed and so happy when I wear it. So that's why. So for those reasons and more, that's why it's my number 1 on this list for spring, Silver Mountain Water by Creed. So we have a winner. You guys know what it is. What is your winner within my entire list? Please tell me in the comment section below. I'd love to know, and I'd love to know what you guys are reaching for this spring too. Also tell me if you enjoyed this video. I'd really appreciate that. Or if you have any other constructive criticisms, please thumbs this video up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't yet for more great fragrance content. And hopefully I hear from you and see you guys soon. So thanks again as always for watching. Have a safe and happy spring. Take care. Peace out. Bye.
Spray my Creed and get to it. I played my cards right, you just left looking foolish. All my shit be authentic, those ain't diamonds in your piece. You buy a bitch fake Chanel, spelled with an S, not a C.